Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Destiny from Desphixs, and welcome back to another video in the e-commerce project using Django. In this one, we will get started working with the product list and product detail. That is what we'll be working on. Hopefully, you will enjoy the video and learn something new. Consider dropping a like on the video and probably subscribing to the channel if you like the videos that we are releasing. And consider checking out the links in the description below, as one of them there might actually answer your questions or point you to the right direction for whatever you are looking for. So let's get started. The very first thing I will do will be to open up my code editor, and I'm going to come over to the store app and open up the views py. So I'm going to create a new variable called products, and before this, I'll firstly assign it to none. I want to import a couple of things, starting with models. So I'm going to say from store import models as store underscore models. Very good. And after you have imported this, over here we can then say products should be store models dot products dot objects dot filter. And then what do we want to pass in? Status should be equal to published. So in Django, we've got a couple of methods like this. We've got the filter method, we've got the all method, we've got the get method, we've got the order by, we've got the annotate, we've got the aggregate. In fact, there are a lot of methods like this that help you perform a ton of task or query. So this one over here, filter, will basically help us fetch all the items in the database based on whatever query we pass in here. In this case, we are saying, hey Django, hop into the database, get into the product model, and we want you to grab all the products that has the status set to publish. That is what it will do. So if for any reason you passed in all over here, this will throw an error. That is because you're telling Django to bring all the products for you, and you don't really care what the status are. Just get me all the products. So for this one, you don't need to pass in anything over here. But as soon as you want to tailor down your query and you want to actually get products that maybe their status are published, or maybe their status are rejected or disabled, then you want to use the filter method, then pass in status should be equal to published. There is another one called get method. Don't worry, we'll be using that in a short time. That one is basically used for getting a single item. So let me actually get to that already. Products.objects.filter. What this basically does is it says, hey Django, get all the objects, or rather all the products or products objects where status is published. And when you have done this, we need a way to pass this into the template. But before we do this, how about we print this product and see what we are getting? So yeah, it makes sense, right? Let's print that and see what we are getting. I'll open up my terminal, and this is it, running very well. And when I get back here and reload this page, get back here, let's see what we have. Okay, it's not actually showing up anything now. Do I even have any item in my database? Let me go ahead and check that out. So I will open up my admin and basically log in. I think I missed the email address. Let me use Destiny. Hopefully that's it. There you go, that's it. So I will open up the products model, and I have this one called Sony A7C camera, and status is published. But why can't I find it? So let me make sure that status here is published. Good. And over here, I'm printing products. I'm going to break out from my server and reload it again, because sometimes you actually need to break out from your server, reload it so that everything syncs. Then I will reload this and now get back here. Now, can you see that it shows something here called query set product Sony A7C? Now, do you see those query sets that is showing up over here? We need a way to take this and then pass it into this HTML template here and loop through all the items that was given to us and display each and every one of them over here. So how do we actually do this? First question is, how do we firstly pass this to the template? That is where passing it in as a context, or rather as a dictionary, comes to play. So over here, you could say, hey, I want you to pass in the products object to the template, assign a key called product to it, and the value should be product. So if you're familiar with dictionary in programming in general, then you should know how this works. Dictionary is basically a key pair value system that you could use to hold informations together, more like a container. Okay. So what we are doing over here is we are saying, hey, the templates now called index.html should be able to access this product that we just filtered using this key called products. So now what does this mean? This means that you can now take this products, come over here and look for where we have this section. Let's gently look for that. So that should be, let's see. I think that should be somewhere here. Yeah, I found it. I'm going to close up my terminal so that we have more space to work with. That should be here. There you go. This is it. So over here, you now need to loop through all the items in the database. So you can say for products, or you could even say for P in, then over here, I'm going to pass in products. And then you need to make sure that you're wrapping that info here around that template that I just showed you guys. So make sure you're wrapping it around this. Now, when you get back to your site and reload, you should still see one of this. Why are we still seeing one of this? Why are we not seeing like 2 or 3? That is because in the admin, we only have one item over here. As soon as you add another item or remove an item and you reload this, not this one. Let me even close that off. As soon as you reload this, you can then see it will update the count of this. So it only makes sense that we go ahead and start changing up things like the images, the title, and every other thing that we'll be needing for this product, right? I will be explaining for loop in Django templates, okay? And I want you to know that for loop is actually something that exists in all programming languages. But let's actually explain it based on what we are working on right now. In Django templates, a for loop is used to actually iterate over a list or a collection of items. And when you hear the word iterate, it basically means loop over or go over and over and over and over a collection of items again. And it allows you to dynamically generate HTML content based on the items in the collection. The for tag in Django template, let me show you, which is this one, this for tag over here in Django template. It's similar to the for loop in maybe your view that you could say for P in product. Exactly the same thing. Hopefully, you know that this is how you can still run for loop. So this for over here is exactly the same thing over here. And it's similar to this. So the way we are looping through these items now in the index is the same way we are doing it over here. And in case you are asking, okay, so why do we have products here and products? Why don't we have products with an S and products with an S? So this one over here called items is the collection that you want to iterate over, which is basically a list of our products that we want to iterate over. And this one here is just like a variable. And hopefully, you know that you can call a variable whatever you want. You can even say, okay, you know what? I want to call this variable milkshake. Is this still going to work, Destiny? Yes, it's going to work 100%. So this is the variable that will represent the current element in the loop. But just to stick to the naming convention, it's highly recommended that you go with maybe a singular of whatever item you're iterating over or collection of items that you're iterating over. So we have products here. It only makes sense that since this variable will be representing the current item in the loop, that we should name it something like products, okay? Which is the singular word for products. I hope this makes sense. So that is why over here, you reload this, you can see one of this item here because it goes through all the items in the database, fetch everything, come over to our view, pass it into the templates here, open up our templates, looped through it here, and in the browser, you can now see it should just one of this. I hope that makes sense. So let's go ahead and start changing up every other information. Instead, you could even say for P in products and it will still work perfectly well. Okay. So for the image, for the product image over here that I have added placeholder for you guys is where you actually be changing things. For the product image, you just want to say p.image.url. And now when we get back here and reload, oh, there you go. You can see our image coming in perfectly well. Let's also change up the product title. So search for it. This is the product category title. So you can say p.category.title. And over here for the product name, you can also say p.title. For the page URL, for now, we don't have that, so we can leave it out. I want to confirm that. You see, this is what I wanted to confirm, that the product's name is not called title. I wanted to confirm if it was called name, and sure, it was called name instead of title. So please go ahead and change this from title to name. Okay. Let me also confirm for the category. Yeah, the category was called title, so that is okay. So if you get back here and reload this, you can now see Sony A7C and the categories showing up cameras. Very, very, very good. So with this now, the next thing will be to work with rating. I'm going to get back here and remove all this rating. Just stick with one of this. Okay. So we want to conditionally render these icons that show rating. Now what you want to do is this. Create a conditional statement here and say, if not p.average underscore rating, which means we don't have any rating yet. What do we want to say? You could display only 1 star. You could display a half star. You could display a star that is not filled, or you could just say products not rated yet. So it's up to you what you want to display. How are we getting this average rating? That is just from here. Whoops, we don't have it yet. So I actually said I was going to create this in the past video, but well, I think I missed that. I wasn't able to create it. So you know what? I will just quickly grab the average rating and all the methods that the products will be using, and I'll put it down there for you guys. So you could actually pause the video and type it out. I'm going to explain what it does in case you don't understand. So over here, paste it out. All right. So this is average rating. Now what this does is it's basically a method that will be returned in the templates or wherever you want to call it. And what this method will do is it will take all the reviews that are related to this particular product here, and it will aggregate them and get the average rating of all the reviews and basically return the formatted number of the average rates. Okay. So when you take this average rating here and maybe here alongside the P name, you call it, what do you think is going to happen? Let me just call it somewhere here and reload this. Can you see it shows none? Why is it showing none? That is because we don't have any reviews. If you open this up, no reviews. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly add one review, and I'm going to say nice products because I really liked the products. And rating, I'm going to give him a 4 star. And let's make sure that this review is active. So now when we come over here and reload, can you now see 4.0? How about we add another review? You could fill this in if you want using the fake filler. It's still going to work well. And how about I want to give them like a 3 star and make this active? You get back here and reload, you can now see that they have 3.5. So it now calculates the average between the 4 star and the 3 star, and it's 3.5, and it's returned it to us in the P average rating. So that is basically what this code does over here. This is what aggregated. See this method here called average is what we use to check the average of all the rating fields based on all the reviews for this product. And this one over here called AVG rating is just a variable. You could also call this Uncle Bobby and it's still going to work. But just make sure that when you're calling this Uncle Bobby, over here, you're returning Uncle Bobby. Okay. If our server reloads, let me show you. Our server reloads, you get back here and reload this. You can still see 3.5. Nothing is broken. It's still working very well. So it's just a variable. You could call it whatever you want. But, you know, just to stick to naming convention, we actually call it AVG rating, which stands for average rating. This one over here just returns all the reviews back to us. This one returns all the gallery. This one returns all the variants. This one returns all the orders that has been made for this particular product. And what this one does over here is just override the default save method. I believe I have explained this in the previous tutorial. and it populates the slug field here with whatever the title is. And this will be populated only if we don't have anything in the slug field. I hope that makes sense. So back to the index, you can see that we have written the very first one here, which is this, that checks if not p.average rating. Now we need a couple more. Instead of ending the if over here, we could actually extend this and say elif, which is else if. That is Python way of actually writing if the first conditional statement did not work, check this one too before going to the final one. So we also want to say p.average underscore rating if it's greater than 0 and p.average underscore rating is less than 2. What do we want to do? Let's show 1 star. If you take a step back and look at this conditional statement here, it actually makes sense, because you see, if not p.average rating, if it's showing none, we don't want to show anything, but just for some reason I'm actually showing 1 star. You can remove that if you want. You could put a text like not rated yet. Then we come over to this one, and when we check, if p.average rating is greater than 0, which means it's any number from 1 to 100 and infinity, right? That's what this one is going to check. But then another conditional statement came in here and said, still make sure that p.average the rating is less than 2, which means it's greater than 0, which is 1. It's less than 2, which means it is 1. So every time 1 is what this will be returning to us. So that is why we go ahead and return 1 star. Does this make sense? Now you can copy that conditional statement, the elif, and paste it here again and check. If p.average rating is greater than 1 and p.average rating is less than 3, which means it's 2. Something that's greater than 1 but less than 3 is 2. Makes sense, right? So we will put 2 stars over here. And you could also check if p.average rating is greater than 2 but less than 4. Something that's greater than 2 and less than 4 is 3. So we'll put 3. And then we also check if p.average rating is greater than 3 and less than 5. So what do we do here? We go ahead and put 4. And finally, we check if p.average rating is greater than 4. So once it's greater than 4, we don't really care if it's 6 or if it's 10 or if it's any number. We don't really care. Just show 5 if it's greater than 4. So that's why we show 5. So guys, what do you think is going to happen when we reload this page? What do you think is going to show up as the rating when we reload this page? Should be 3, right? Should be 3. So when you reload, there you go, 3. That is because in the admin, we have just 3.5. Does this make sense? So that is basically it. Now I'm going to get back here and I will also look for the title, and I will remove this. So this is what I want to remove. So what have we not updated? Let's also update the product price. You get down here and you say p.price. Very good. Now you can see 500 USD. Well, I think that's actually a steal for this camera. So yeah, that is it. So as soon as you keep adding more products to the database, you will see the products show up over here, and you will actually see your data gets populated. Let me add one more product, because we will really be making use of these products when we start working with the add to cart. Okay, so I'm going to come over to desktop and lesson fast cart e-commerce, 0 templates, assets, image, and I want to open up let me open up shop, and you could take any of this. Okay, so let's say I want to go with this MacBook, and I'm going to call this one MacBook Pro, and for the description you could put whatever you want in here. Okay, I'm going to put the title just like this, and category, let me create a new category, and I'm going to say computer. And for the price, I don't know how much MacBook costs, so I'm just going to say 1200. And for the regular regular price, I don't know, let me just say maybe 12.50. Good. We have 4 of this in stock. Shipping amount is 5 USD. Let's feature it in the marketplace. The vendor that created this is Destiny, and yep, that's about it. So go ahead, save this, and now when you get back here and reload, oh, there you go. Can you see? So this shows MacBook Pro 1 star 1200, which is 1200. Shows the image and every other thing that we have here. Very, 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 very good. So the next thing on my list will be to go ahead and write the detail page. Detail page, quite simple. All we need to do is fetch a particular item based on whatever ID that was passed into the products, into the function rather. So I'm going to say define product underscore detail. And this one is basically going to take requests. And also I want to get products by slug because it makes it more, you know, human readable instead of passing in some bunch of IDs into the URL. Okay. For an e-commerce, it only makes sense that we use a slug. If you're working for some on a project like a banking application and you want to retrieve single products, it makes sense if you use an ID instead of a slug. Okay, but for an e-commerce, slug really makes sense so that your users don't actually feel like, okay, I don't know what site I don't know what page this is going to lead to. But if they take a close look at the URL and see the slug, they'll be like, oh yeah, this is going to take me to the MacBook Pro, or this is going to take me to the Sony A7C camera. I hope that makes sense. Let's go ahead and fetch the products by saying store models.products.objects.get, and I'm going to say status should be equal to published. It only makes sense that if we want to get one item, we should still make sure that its status is published, and we should also make sure that its slug is equal to slug. So this slug keyword here, this one that has this orange color, is basically the one that we have here in the product model. This one here is basically this one that will pass into this function. So now, whenever you're calling this function requires that you pass in 2 parameters to it, which is request and slug. Don't bother about the request. Mainly, it needs the slug. So if you're going to pass in the slug now, we need to pass it in the URL. And what Django is going to do is, if you pass the slug into the URL and you visit this slug or this view, Django will take whatever slug that was passed in from the template, populate it into this view here, and use it to search this product. So instead of the slug, in real time, what it will do is something like, it will now check for MacBook Pro. Then instead of filtering here by slug, it will also filter here by MacBook Pro, which will then return any product that status is this and slug is this. Does that even make sense? I hope it does. Please let me know in the comment section. If that doesn't make sense, I will actually write it down for you so that you can read it over and over again. I think that should stick better. For now, this is everything that I want to do. We can also go ahead and return related products. Okay, let's actually just write the whole code for everything that we want to do. Let me return related products. And this one is actually quite tricky, just a little bit. It's not difficult. Just filter all the products again, just like we've been doing. But this time around, you want to make sure that you are filtering by category should be equal to the current products that we are viewing, their category. Please understand what's going on here. Instead of filtering by status and slug, by the way, you still need to filter by status. Okay? Please don't forget that. That's very important. So this time around, instead of filtering by slug, we are filtering by category. Now, we are only able to do this because we are in the product detail and we are using a get method. So if for any reason this was a filter method and this was probably done somewhere here, wow, Django is going to yell at you. Django will be like, hey, you cannot filter a slice, you cannot filter a query set by a query set. Okay, you actually need to do more work to be able to do that. But based on the fact that we are in the products detail and this is a get method here that fetches one product, you can now use that product to say, hey, Django, go ahead and fetch all the products in the database where their category is equal to this same products category that we are viewing. Does that make sense? So that is what this does over here. But then there is something that's going to happen. If it filters what this product which means it will still filter this current one that we are looking at. It only makes sense that we remove the current products that we are looking at, right? So let's go ahead and exclude it. So I will say exclude, and ID should be equal to product.id. Very good. So that is basically it. Now I will go ahead and we can return the templates now. Now I'm going to introduce something called a context dictionary. Take a close look at this here. Do you see this that I initially did? It looks very identical to this. The only thing that's missing is we had this variable here. That's what's missing from this. So that's exactly what I want to do. Remove this for loop. And I want you to take this one and paste it down here, right? Working perfectly well, no errors, no issues. Do not get confused. But I want you to assign a variable to it called context. So context should be equal to this. So now you can take this and put it in here, and it works exactly the same way without actually showing an issue or, breaking the front end one that we wrote previously. So now we could do the same thing for this one. Now you might be like, okay, Destiny, why is it then showing up like this? Well, that is because I broke it apart like this. Okay. So you can then say products. Let me stick to double quotes. I'll say product and passing product. I also need to also pass in the related products. Very, very good. So with all this out of the way, go ahead and also return the templates and call the templates whatever you called the function. It's not compulsory. You could call the templates Uncle Bobby or milkshake or bananas, but you could go ahead and call it whatever you call the function. Because if you call it whatever you call the function, in the long run, as your project grows, it will be more easier for you to actually pinpoint errors and easily change things around. So let's say that in the future, you want to start changing templates and you're like, you know what? I want to change all the products detail templates to a particular name. And then imagine that you call your function bananas. And for some reason, you also called your template Uncle Bobby. Now you're going to find it very difficult to actually search for this over here and change it all at once. You have to manually do this. So this is just my own way of doing things. Okay, it's not actually like a thing that's written down or a rule that's written down for you to follow. It's just my own way of keeping things easy and clean. So whatever you call the function, call the template. You can say I called it index and here I call the template index. Good. So then go ahead, open up your URLs PY. And what I want you to do now is get down here, change this one to products detail. Hopefully, you know that I just duplicated. And now here, I want a user to be able to access the product by coming over to a specific URL. And I want them to come over to detail slash, and this is where we then need to pass in the slug. So remember the slug that we created over here? This slug is here that you need to pass it in. So now you can take this product detail URL, open up your index HTML and look for this, or maybe this title here. How can we find it? This is the title here. Change this to Django URL tags URL, and just down here, call the namespace store and paste this product detail. If I get back here and reload, what do you think is going to happen? Can you actually pause the video and tell me what you think is going to happen before I reload the page? So if I reload this page, it will show me a big error. See, that says, okay, the first one is store is not a registered namespace. This is not the error I initially expected, but yeah, we got it. So that's because over here, you need to call this store instead of vendor. Okay. Now coming over to the error that I was expecting, there you go. So now it's saying reverse for product detail with no arguments not found. One patterns tried this. So just by looking at this error, you'll notice that over here, it says, hey, I don't actually know how to get the slug, but in the URL, you specified that there was going to be a slug, but then when you called the URL, you didn't provide any slug. So I'm finding it difficult to know what slug I'm going to use. That's basically what this error is saying while yelling at us. So all you need to do is say p.slug. Remember the product slug, this is where you pass it in. So p.slug, and when you get back here and reload, there you go, that's working. So now you can click on this title or this one and it's going to open up the product detail. But before we do that, let me change up the image also. Good. So that you can also be able to click on the image or the title and open it up. So when you click on this image, you can see working perfectly well, but it's showing that this template does not exist. So you could satisfy this error by basically creating that template. So here in the store, you could create a new file and call it products.html. And then you could reload this page and voila, it's working very well. So remember what we've been doing in the previous tutorial or some minutes ago, where we actually had to extend these two things. Well, that's exactly what you still need to do over here. So you copy this, paste it down here, reload this page, you should see only header and footer. So now we need to get the product detail template. And you could go ahead and minimize this if you want. Let me see. From here to here, I will minimize this. Very good. Then I'm going to copy everything here, come over to my products detail, and I just want to paste it down here. Okay. And after that, you could test this out by reloading this page. And there you go. Can you see? This is exactly what I want. Exactly what I want. So now what we just need to do is change up a couple of things and we should be good to go. So the very first thing that we'll be doing is we can start off with the images because that seems like the very first thing in the templates, right? So yeah, let's do that. Scroll all the way to the top. I'm going to close this so we have more space to work with. And just here for this very first image, change this to products.image.url. Did you notice that we are not actually looping through any products here? That is because we are now getting one single item and not many. When you have many items, that is when you have to loop through a collection or a list of items. But based on the fact that we actually filtered just or got just one item, you don't actually need to loop through anything. Okay, so you could just work with this one. All right. So when we have this, you could even reload the page and let's see what we have. Get back here and reload. All right. Did you see that something just came up and went back? That makes sense. That's saying, hey, change up all the images before you actually try viewing me. So let's do that. Over here, take this and put it for the very first one here at the top. Remove every other one and just retain only one. So we have one here that doesn't have the dynamic image and one that has the dynamic image. So this one here, we need to loop through all the gallery images related to this particular product that we are viewing. So this product is the MacBook Pro, right? Let us add some images to the MacBook Pro. So over here in the gallery, you could go ahead and select some images. So I just had to quickly pause the video and locate where I have all the store images. And I could immediately see some over here. I'm going to select this one and also select this. And let me see if I have another one for a laptop. I don't, but I think these two should be enough. Save and go. So now we have images to loop through here. I'm going to cut that, not remove, cut, and say for image in products.gallery.all. I want to get down here and paste this and change this up. This one should be image.image.url. Same thing goes for this guy. So why is the image.image.url? That is because we are looping through. Now, this one here is a variable that you can also call Uncle Bobby, or that you could also call bananas. And then you could say bananas.image.url, bananas.image.url. So where is this image coming from? If you take a walk all the way to the model, come over to the gallery, you can see this field called image. So that is where we will be able to get the image from that we are using here. So if you get down here and reload, there you go. Can you see that one? Can you also see this one? Can you also see this one? And you can zoom through. You can even click to, see a clearer view of this. So yeah, this makes a whole lot of sense and it's working perfectly well. But please change the bananas to images. Okay. And now let's change up this one by saying product, dot category, dot title. And also for this one, let's say product dot name. And for the stars, please, I want you to open up the index HTML. And you could grab the stars from here because I don't want to redo all that again. Just one thing I want you to do is copy the stars, hit Ctrl N to open up a new blank page, paste the stars. And I want you to search for P dots like this. Replace all the P dots with product dots. And then click on this button to replace. Now, cut this, come over to your products detail and paste it in the necessary location. Let's see now. Good, 1 star. But if you open up this one, see 3 stars. Very good. Now, then you could also change up the reviews. Instead of 55 reviews, you could say p.reviews.all.count. Should see 0, yeah, nothing is showing up. If there is nothing, the default value that should be showed here should be 0. So in Django, this is how you add a default value if nothing exists. The filter called defaults. Okay, so now we should see 0. See? But if you get back to this one, you should see 3. Oh, whoops, what's going on there? Let me make sure that this is okay. What if I remove this, what's gonna happen? Okay, I think there is oh yeah, hopefully you saw this before me. This was called P instead of product. There you go. Now we have 2. This one is gonna show 0. Very good. So let's change up the price. I believe this one is the regular price. So product.regular price. And I believe this one is the sale price. So product.price. And this one is in stock. So for measuring the in stock, you could just say if product.stock_qty is greater than 0, then I want to show the in stock keyword. Okay, so this one is showing nothing. Let me confirm that the MacBook has stock of 4, and I also want to confirm what the model was called. So the model field was called, yeah, stock, but over here I said if stock quantity, so change that to stock. Oh, there you go. That's working. So now let's also change up this one. Instead of this, I'm going to say product.description. And then, but now, how about we have, multiple instances of this MacBook Pro? Instead of just this one-line description, how about we have let me show you, many like this, and we save. Can you see that it's now making this not look good? So let's truncate. But before we truncate, why are we having p tags over here? That is because we are working with CK editor, and CK editor actually will format it in HTML for you. So what you need to do is tell Django, hey Django, it's safe for you to actually render the HTMLs. We trust CK editor and nothing malicious is going to happen. So go ahead and render the HTML. So then, firstly, to tell Django to trust HTML, you need to pass in safe. And then to tell Django to reduce the amount of words that are there, you need to pass in the truncate chars filter and pass in any amount of words that you want to get. That's 50. Let me go with 150. I think that's okay for me, 150. You can change that up depending on whatever you want, okay? Now, coming over to the more interesting ones, let's work with the colors, right? Yeah. So I just want to go through this real quick and see. Form check inputs. I have the type as radio. I have the color as 8. I have the ID as white 8. Very good. So remove all this and stick with only one. Okay. And I want you to cut this out. Even if you reload now, you should see only one. What's going on? I want to make sure that I have only one. Yeah, there you go. Only this one. So now what we need to do is check, or rather loop through all the variants. So remember we have this variant here that we are passing into the product model as a method. You can loop through it just like we looped through the gallery, or just like we used the reviews to check how many reviews that we have over here. See? So you can still use this variant. So this is one really nice thing about Django. You can easily pass in methods like this and it will make your life a whole lot easier. So just down here, I want to loop through. So I'm going to say for variant in products.variant.all. Then I want to check in here. I want to check if variant.name is equal to color. Then what do we want to do? Go ahead and display the color. Okay, let's see. Nothing is showing up, right? That is because we don't have any color. So let's add some color. Variant here, I'm going to add color, and I'm going to add size, and I'm going to add specification. Save. So now when you come over to variant, you can see color, size, specifications for the MacBook Pro. Let's start off with the color. So for the variant item, for the title, I'm going to say green. And for the contents, just still passing green. Over here, I'm going to say red. And here, I'll pass in red. And here, I'll say yellow. Then pass in yellow. And then I'll save this. Good. So when you get back here and reload, see? Why is it just one color? It's not supposed to be one color. Okay. So what we then need to do is say for C in variant.items.all. And you paste this. So this is actually like a nested iteration and nested conditional statements. So I basically implemented it this way to make our life a whole lot easier and to make querying the database more lighter. Okay, so now if you get back here and reload, I don't think, oh yeah, it's working. So it's working because we have variant.items.all. Where is this items coming from? We all know what all is. All basically says, hey, when you call variant item, if it's a query set, return all the items in it. But where is this items coming from? Go back to the model, come over to the variant, and see that we have an items method here that returns all the items related to a variant. That is why we firstly said, hey, get me all the variants related to this product. Check if the variant name is color. And if the variant name is color, get all the items related to that particular variant that we are looping through now. So when you have done all that, let's change up some things. For the inputs, I want to add value. And for value, I'm going to say c.title. c.title. Type is going to be radio. Name is going to be color. ID is going to be c.content. So that one is just for working with the back end, interacting with JavaScript and our back end. But for the actual color itself, this one should be c.contents. And I think that's about it. The only thing that we need to then add is this. Remove this BLCR because that BLCR is what's responsible for giving it coloring. See, now it's just white. We then want to add our own custom style in here, and with our own custom background color. And you then need to say c.content. Remember that c.content is what holds the colors itself in the database. Now you can see green, red, yellow. Cool, right? You can also click on any of this and it knows the one you're clicking on. Now, the same thing goes for the size. I would actually love you to pause the video and try doing the size yourself. So I'm going to say, for the size, it's actually the same thing with the variants. If you want, you could copy and paste. If you don't want, let's type it all out. So I'm going to say, for variant in products.variants.all, and over here, we need to check. We need to say, if variant.name is equal to size, then we need to say for s in variant.items.all, list out all the sizes. Same process, guys. Same process. It's exactly the same as when we did for the color. Nothing is working here. It really doesn't make sense that my book should have a size, but you know, just for the sake of the tutorial, let's add it in. XSL, XSL, SM, SM. Then save this, and let's reload. There you go. And you see XSL and XL. Very good. So a couple of things needs to change up, like the naming. Instead of 428, make it to be for s.content. Instead of XSL, make it to be s. You can make it to be s.title or s.content, depending on whatever you want, okay? Give this one a value of s.title, s.title, and give this one a name of site. It already has that. And I also want you to give it an ID of s.content. Please don't forget to remove the checked keyword there so you don't break the program. And when you reload, you should perfectly get size and this. For this one, how do we dynamically get and know how many items that are in the stock and display them over here? Because if you have to think of it, if you have to think about it, the stock quantity is only returned in just a plain number, right? It's not like it's returned in a list, but we need a way to be able to loop through that particular number, which is 4 or 5, and then count them and display each and every one of them here. So to do that, we need to write a very simple function to do that. Back to your views PY, I want you to create a new one called product stock range. And I want you to say for range of 1 all the way to the range of products.stock plus 1, we want to get all this. So what this basically means is that, let's say we route from the range of 1 to the range of products.stock. And let's say that this has just 4 items in the stock. It will get us 1, 2, and 3 without getting the 4. So this over here is where it starts, and this over here is where it stops for the range. So if you want it to be able to get all the items for you, you should already know that this by default is going to exclude 1 from this. So you want to make sure to pass in +1, which will then add in the remaining complete 4 over here. Okay. So in Python, this range function, it generates a sequence of numbers, and the syntax for the range is range starts here and stop here. So it starts from 1 and stop in whatever the products.stock is. And just so you know, start is inclusive and stop is exclusive. And this means that if you want to create a range from 1 to whatever the products.stock is, you would typically need to write this range 1 products.stock plus 1 to be able to get the item that are actually in the stock for you. So now take this and put it in the context. And here in the product detail, you need to loop through. Product detail. So what you just need to say is grab this and say for QTY in products underscore stock underscore range, I want to pass in value. But before passing value, let me firstly pass in the class. Okay, I'm going to say class should be stock dash QTY. Don't worry, you understand what this does in the future. Value here should be QTY, which is going to get it that 1, 2, 3, or 4. This also should be QTY. So as soon as you get back here and reload, you can immediately see 1, 2, 3, 4. If you get back to the other products, you can then see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Now you can work with other things here like the description, the additional info, and the reviews, and also the related products. Let's work on those. Starting with the description, it's quite explanatory. Remember the description that we had here? You could go ahead and grab that description, which was this. So you could grab this description and look for where we had this. Paste it, but also make sure to remove the truncate so that we show the full description. And now, see, Sonny A7C. Additional information and reviews. Whoops, I think my JavaScript might actually be missing. Let me give this a hard reload. Yeah, I think my JavaScripts are missing. So let me see what's happening with my JavaScripts. I'll open up the index. So just to be on a safer side with the scripts and loading of everything that we have over here, what I will do is just open up the completed source code, which I must have provided for you. So come over here, open up Django e-commerce, and open up the templates. And that should be in partials base. So I'm just going to open this up side by side here and take everything in my head and put it in my own base head. So this is another way that you could use to do this, okay? And I want to take everything in the footer also, because this seems to have the updated footer, and put it down here. Very good. So with this now, you could close this up, get back here, and give this a hard reload. Let's see. So you click on this now. Can you see? It's opening it up. Working perfectly well. Perfectly okay. So this one now is for specifications, okay? Now, exactly the same thing that we have been doing for the color and for the size is the same thing that you want to do over here for specifications. But before that, let's add some specifications variants. Some specifications variants, okay? Firstly, I'm going to say made in, then you could pass in maybe a country. I'll say India, and I'm going to say weight, let's say 200 pounds. And yeah, that should be it. So over here, for the product detail, look for the section where we have this one. Good. So I'm just gonna take out all this and copy and paste exactly the same templates that we have for these colors or these sizes down here. But instead of calling it color, we are checking if the name is specifications. That's just exactly what we did. Then list out the S content and the S title. So please go through this. Okay, you can see. Now, I could also still type this out for you guys so that no one gets confused. Okay, so I could say for variants in products.variants.all, And then over here, I could say if variant.name is equal to specification. What did I call it in the database? Let me check. Yeah, specifications. Very good. So if it's equal to specifications, then still say for S, which is for specification, in variants.items.all. And then we'll paste this down here. Change made in to s.title. Change the India keyword to s.content. Very good. So then I will reload this, and over here we can't see anything for this one. Let's get back to the other products, which is this. Can you see? Working perfectly well. Now, same thing is going to happen for reviews. So for the reviews, look for where we have this, and this is a single review, right? Take this single review. Rather, I want to duplicate it just to confirm that that is where we should have the single review. Good, that is it. So take this single review, cut it out, and say for R in products.reviews.all, and I'm going to paste this down here and reload. But I don't think I should actually have any reviews for this one. So let's come over to this camera over here. And for the reviews, we should see 2. Good, good, good. So to change up the infos, instead of Sam J, I'm going to say r.user.profile.full name. Now let's see what's going to happen. Let me say r.profile.username. Let's see. Good, Destiny. Just make it to be a title character. And the dates when it got reviewed should be r.date. Then I'm going to add a pipe here that shows dates, months, and year. So this is just a way to format the dates so it gets the day, month, and year. See that? 7th October 2024. And also the actual review itself should be r.review. I keep passing this question mark in because I've been working with React lately, and I think I'm getting very, very used to it. But now you can see nice product and this. So guys, that was basically it. Now I want you to come over to the index and grab the loop for the product. See this row over here, grab everything here and come over to products detail, look for the related products row and cut it. That should be here. Cut this, delete, paste your own. But now, instead of the normal keyword, your own should be related products keyword right here. And then let's see what we have. Now, we shouldn't see anything because we don't have any category that links to each other. But just to mock this, I'm going to come over to products and make sure that the both of them have the same category. So this one has the computer category. I'll change it back to cameras. Save and continue. And over here, when you reload, see, now we have this. When you click on this, now we should have the camera. When you click on the camera, now we should have the MacBook. That is pretty much it, guys. Congratulations for completing these 2 sections. In the next one, we'll get started working with the adding to carts and also the cart page, updating from carts, removing items from carts, and we'll basically continue from there. That is going to be it. Consider checking out some of the links in the description below, as one of them there would actually help you become a better Python and Django developer. If you're also looking to get a source code, there's a link in the description below. And just like I've told you guys, I'm building a tool that should help us become better programmers, code easily with a lot of features that should help us learn and advance our coding prowess. Hop over to Desphixs.io, drop your email address so that we'll notify you as soon as we launch and you'll be the first in line. Also, just like I've said, if you're getting the source code, links should be in the description below. If you have any query, any question, let me know in the comment section and I'll be there to help you guys. That is it. I hope to see you in the next video. And until then, mad love. Peace out.